Okay, today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's a really long tutorial, and this took a really long time to make. The original video was 1 hour long. I've edited it down to about half an hour, I think. And if you can't already tell by the title of the video and what I'm holding, this is a tutorial on the Doom Eternal Super Shotgun. I'm so glad this opening scene worked. I don't know if you can see that's bent up a little bit. I've recorded this twice already and it broke both times. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Bit of a jump cut because I've had to edit quite a lot out. So here's the video. Hope you enjoy. There'll be bloopers at the end of the video if you want to see them. Might be a bit of swearing. Also going to be a very shocked face when I realise that I've broken it. So yeah, look forward to that. We're using PVC pipe. This thinner piece, that's 2.1 centimeters. I'm going to say that's an inch. 2-inch thick PVC pipe. I'll need to be heating this up to get the correct edge, because for some reason when PVC pipe gets cut or you buy it brand new, the edge is never perfectly round. It's got that weird cut in it from where the machine cuts the pipe. Now, to be fair, you do only need one bit of pipe this length. It's a long bit of PVC pipe. But I've got two because I don't have the time to be, well, I do have the time, I just can't be bothered to sand down the edges because the other edges are rough from where I've used this pipe before. You can see the rough cutting edge on that. I don't have to sand that down and level it. So I'm just going to use some pre-cut edges, which is why I've got two. This is the length of the barrel. There's the line drawn on there. I'll give that a quick measure to work out what it is. Let's do it in inches. Or you're going to be looking at 20.5 inches. Now, you'll notice one's got more lines on it. These other lines are for the detailing, because there are raised areas throughout the barrel. This bit here, we're going to ignore this bit. This is just a rough indication of where the ending is going to be, because if you look at the actual images of the shotgun, as it gets to the end, you've got the barrel where it closes off into the rest of the shotgun, and a little ring just before that. This ring is a bit too far this way, I think, so I might move it back further, but we'll see how the rest of the details go first. Right, there's the barrels cut. Now to do the detailing. Each one of these is 1 centimeter wide, 1 millimeter thick foam, and the same circumference as the pipe. Each one of these is 2 centimeters wide, or just over. And these two are the same. I just duplicated the first set. I've got a load of these pieces. Well, I've only got 2 currently. I'm going to need 6 of them. I worked out spread across the entire piece. The last one will go on the end there, on the underside, not on top, and that would hold them all together. And then, because I'll have a skeleton, I can wrap this foam under it, and that will create the undercarriage, and then I can run the bottom strip that you can see in the reference images. I'm going to print off some reference images for the next part of the video, I think, when I get onto the rest of the build and not just the pipes, just so you can see what I mean by the details. So, for the most part, I just dropped the sight, that's okay. That's going to be the end of the barrel. This edge here is meant to be like that, it's not meant to smooth in. I'm also going to be wrapping it in foam, which will mean it smooths in anyway. And because I'm not happy with... okay, right, well these keep undoing. This here, you're going to see the layers, and you're going to see this... well, you can see the scuffing there. So once this is glued on, I'm going to outline it, cut out this hole here on the thin foam, and just glue it onto the front, so it's a nice flat finish with no seam lines on the front. And then, like I said, for the rest of it, that'll all be held together. We'll have one there, second one here, third one about there, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then the foam will just be laid out across them. Right, so I'm going to go make some more of them, glue them all together, There's the sight, by the way. It's just a piece of foam folded in half. This is really annoying because of the shadow. It's basically just one piece folded in half, glued together. You can see the seam line running up there. When it's painted, you won't notice that. Okay, even more scene change. I said I'd only make 6 of those ribs. I made a bit more than 6. How many did I make in the end? I think I made 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Roughly 12. I don't know, I didn't count properly. I've also made the sight. I've already shown that. Never mind. So now I'm going to use the foam, use these like ribs, and essentially do skin on top. And that will smooth out the shape. You'll still be able to feel it, but it will look good. Or that's the idea anyway. Next thing I'm doing now is, you can see here the glue looks nasty again. The paint will cover that, you won't see that very much. I'm bending the seam in, so when it's painted it looks like it's all one piece, or close enough. I need to do the same here. On this side I've just glued it down. I've not folded it all over yet. Well, I've folded it all over, but I've not glued the gaps yet. So I need to finish gluing all these overlays down, like that. And the same for all the rest of it. Just gluing all these bits over the top of the grey. And covering it. I need to do the same with that, that's not perfect yet. And with this one, but all the others are done for that bit. And then I'll go over and I'll glue all the gappy areas down to the PVC pipe like that, so it's all just flush. And then I've got to find a bit of scrap foam that will just finish this bit, and then we can go on to more details. But basically I've done all the detailing on the barrel itself. I've gone and done this as well, these little strips. Those are the exact same as these, only they've got a bit of a round to the bottom of them. And this pattern wasn't difficult, I already had it drawn onto the pipe anyway. So yeah, that's all of it done now. You can see the seam lines here. This won't matter, the covers will be done. The covers, as I call them the covers, there's more details on the bottom. The only bit that actually shows is about from here onwards, of the barrel itself. The rest of it has the primer and that weird, it's called the meat hook, but it's basically a grapple attachment. The aim isn't glued down, I've just kind of wedged it there for the time being. Just because I wasn't too sure where to put it, so it's just wedged in there for now. I also went and did the end of the barrel. You can see it's all really rough cut. When I do the wooden areas and I need to sand them down, make them look natural, I'll use the Dremel at the same time and I'll sand these down. So I'll leave this down until I get to the sanding part, and I'll just run it through the inside. Which kind of ruins the point now of using the clean edges of the pipe. I could have used the horrible ones and covered it with this anyway, but I didn't think about that. I got ahead a little bit. This is the other end of the barrel now. There's the front. I've done one of the runners along the side where all the detail is. Is it perfectly straight? No. Am I happy with it like that? No, not really. Am I going to just continue with it and do battle damage on it and everything? Yeah, probably. I've got to do the same to the other side now as well. So essentially I just lined up the yellow on here, drew the outline and then cut it out with the knife. And then I'll just glue it back in to cover the gap. I don't think there's anything else that I've added to it that you haven't seen already, apart from this back piece, which looks like I've done a lot. I haven't, I just used a foam, well, an offcut of foam to fill in those two. Poked a hole for that smaller PVC to get through, and then filled in the space with foam offcut, and then just did a sheet over the top. This looks like a cut here as well. It's not, it's just permanent marker. Most of this will be covered anyway with details. This piece here is where the loading mechanism is for the gun. Because this isn't a real gun, there won't be a loading mechanism. So you can see what I mean about the thinner PVC pipe. These are just going to slot into these holes fairly easily, like that. and they'll be glued in permanently there. You can see I've left a little bit of a gap. These aren't perfect either, so I'm not the happiest with those, but they'll do. You're not really going to see them anyway. They'll be painted black. There's a piece that comes back further than this that I forgot about. Really, I should have used a bit of this to come out further, and then used a thicker piece on top to do the detail, but whatever. We're at this point now anyway. But yeah, I think that's all I've done. I'm going to glue this yellow piece in, and I'm going to add there's like a weird Christian cross kind of thing at the end here, the pattern anyway. And there's a risen area here, which I'll just use an offcut for. It kind of comes up at an angle, comes down, and then goes off at an angle. So that's the bit that I should have left some extra foam for, but I forgot. But yeah, that'll just glue on the end. It's a wooden handle basically, but I'll be doing it out of foam, trying to make it look like wood. So the main things you're going to notice is the fact that there's now this piece on the end. This is that same piece I showed earlier. You can see the little grey bits there. This is actually glued in now, I can't take this out. And then I've just used, I essentially cut out some black triangles and rolled them until they looked about right. Glued them either side, and this wasn't a mistake that I patched up. I specifically did this to give it more structural support. I used the thicker foam, which is this stuff, and rolled it around. And that runs all the way through. That's an addition as well, I think, from the last time I did a video. And there's the second aimer, or sight even, not aimer. And then you've got the green piece that now runs right the way up. That's just to cover the gap, and I think it's really hard to tell whether it's meant to have these little kind of fins come up, similar to these, but all the way along the inside of the screen tube. It's difficult to see in the game and through the reference images whether it's meant to have those little lines, or whether it's just like a black bit in the centre, or whether it's just weird because it's such a niche detail on such a, well, it's a video game, so it's not even a real thing. But it would have been, I tested trying to put some in there and it didn't go very well, so I've just left it plain. But this piece here is 3 layers of the green foam, and then this is just the little bit of black foam. That's really weak at the moment. That's somewhat to do with the fact that this is weak here. I'll be putting more super glue on this just to make sure it's not so fragile. These details back on here. This piece is one of the runes that's on the back by the handle. This is like a golden buckle for the lock mechanism, and then you've got the slope where it leads up. All this is done out of foam, and then there's some more panels here. So yeah, it looks like I've done a lot. I really haven't. I've also glued the other side down permanently now. Most of the undercarriage is done. I've just got to add that silver bit that connects to the handle now. The line running near the top, this one here. Oh, great. That one was sanded at the same time as the handle, just so it's got a bit of a bevel on it. This green piece here is cut at an angle and then made flush with this, with the rest of the blue. You can see what I mean there about that's been beveled, and the same on the other side. Now this doesn't look perfect, it's not. It's going to have a fabric wrap on it anyway, and a few nails in it. As of right now, it's not the strongest handle, as you can see by the fact the entire gun wobbles, which is why I need to finish doing the undercarriage that connects the wooden, I don't know the technical term for it, the reload to the actual handle, and that will wrap all the way across here, lead a little bit down the back. There's also a silver bit that needs to be on the bottom, which is a very angular looking shape, so I'll do that with the thick foam. We've got another piece here, which is a thin bit that I managed to find some scrap from, and some more of the green, just cut the shape and then glued together. And I managed to find just enough to do these little ribs on the bottom here. I started writing the symbols on the side because I'm going to use this glow-in-the-dark paint to do it. Not so that it glows in the dark or that it's pink, but because it leaves like a raised area and it'll make this visible. I've now added all of this here. This piece here is just 2 triangles and then one's been cut in half and glued on either side. That's the same on this side as well. I've added the trigger now, which is just an oval here. The trigger's a little offcut of foam. Some offcuts just to complete the edge, which is actually accurate to the little game version. And then again, a little offcut here, just for this little random detail they have. And then this just to fill the gap. I've also added this bit here and this sword kind of thing, which I wasn't going to do. I was going to paint that on, but I figured if I'm doing the glow-in-the-dark paint, I may as well add those bits on. I've then gone and added this bottom piece here with the little hook that comes out the end, and this little panel here, as well as the little details that stick outside, giving it that shape at the bottom. I engraved this now with the knife. I might heat treat it just to make the holes open a bit further. I've done these little yellow bumps that come out the side, and you can see this panelling that comes all the way around, this extra layer of black, just this bit here. The two sides then meet, as you can see there, and they run all the way down to here. I've not continued them all the way for a couple of reasons. The main one being I don't have enough foam to do it, but also because it's kind of like a bandage that wraps all the way around the handle. That will cover the rest of it anyway. Done all the line work on it now, all the lettering on the side and on the handle. You'll also see there's a coat hanger hanging from it. It's so that I can hang it up to dry and paint. And it should dry in the wind because it's quite windy here. If you're going to be using paint of any kind, well, spray paint of any kind, use a mask. I would say use gloves, but I kind of need to have my hands free to be able to use the phone as well. So, but if you're not recording it, use gloves. Just to get some good lighting and to show what I've done. There's the gold on the buckle. You can see I've gone in with a lighter brown and a darker brown as well, just to give more of a wood grain texture. Most of this handle is going to be covered in a bandage wrap, so you won't see it, but it's the little things that matter. But yeah, there's a few areas I'm not too happy about. Like you can see a very hard line there. You can see the gold triggers done. Again, the little details are important. So I've gone and done the little line that runs through that piece. That is a genuine thing as well, like gold in the gap. The black caps, I guess they probably are. Same on the other side. The black edge on the spikes. The golden aim, which is absolutely useless, because you can't see either of the aims if you try and look down the sights. The two gold rings, and then the handle. You can see they're a little bit more obvious now, same as the one down here. There's a black wash all over it to make it look a little more worn. I guess I'm not going to do the blood now, because I just don't think it looks like a good idea. I tore this bit off, ready for the 3D printed durable piece to go on. Other side's basically the same. This is now glossy. I can't remember if I've already gone over that, but this is glossy to give it like a varnished wood look. It also breaks it up a bit more. Does it break it up more or blend it in a bit more? I think the matte made it look a bit too fake, so I've tried to make it look a tiny bit more realistic. And there's all the wraps done, which is a bit of t-shirt that I've cut up, drenched in brown and black wash, and then let dry, then glued onto the handle. I've got to do the 3 pins that go in on each side, and then I have to paint those silver. There's another one that's meant to go right there in the middle, and then there's 2 that go on this thin piece of wood here, just there. One there and one about here. Now, this piece is separate, obviously. I made the template for this piece, like that, and then that's just mirrored on the other side. This was originally templated, but I just used the offcut in the end, because I've got panels to do on this, and it's not visible properly in any of my images that I'm using to make this. These I also used a template for, which was custom made. You can see it there. I ended up making these a tiny bit thicker because I've used my little rotary tool, and you can see I've created the blade edge on that. There's a few areas I need to go and kind of smooth out. This looks like it's a different edge, but if you look at it, it's not. It's because the fibres in the foam are facing two different directions, because I sanded that way and then from this end sanded down. The end's very difficult to do because it's so thin, so I'm probably going to leave it like that. The images I can find don't seem to have it any other way other than that, so yeah, we'll do it like this. I've got one more to do, and then that'll be the actual sharp edges of the meat hook done. I've beveled the edges of both. I've also beveled the edges of these discs, and on the other side. These didn't perfectly line up, but you won't really be able to see them because they'll be stuck to the bottom of the gun anyway. Cut out some little circles for the sides, create this little lifted area so it sits on the barrel, and then I can super glue it down, or contact adhesive or whatever. I now need to do all the little runes that run across the blades and on these little bits here. I'm going to make the chain out of some foam clay when the foam clay arrives. I've also got to do the runes on here. There's a tiny little marking on here which I think I'll do out of thin foam. I've also got to do the bit that runs through the centre here, and then all the rest of the detailing. And then I can paint it, and that'll be this piece done. I'll do the weathering, glue it to the bottom, and that'll be that. I've also, if you can't tell, there's a few little bits of pink dust all over the place. Today I started working on the next video. Okay, so we've got the actual meat hook itself now. The attachment point to the shotgun itself that's been detailed on both sides. I'm just waiting for this side to dry. Yeah, I've only done one side, so I've got to do that pattern another 3 times, mirrored on this side. Literally just got to do the same thing on there and there. You can see that I've got to do the rings as well and the little points. This should technically be a bit easier because there's not so much detail at the blade, and where there is other details like paintwork going up the side, but I can't tell whether that's just the reference image and the shine on the blade or actual detail, so I'm not going to do it because I'm actually pretty sure it's just the shine on the blade rather than raised details, because I can't imagine them doing it on the sharp edge of a blade. Okay, I may have forgotten to do a video before I did all the weathering, but you've literally just seen these pieces. There's the EVA foam clay that I used, or just foam clay, I guess it's not EVA foam clay. So yeah, this is painted in the same gunmetal grey as the rest is, by Tamaya, however you want to pronounce it. This is painted in gold leaf Tamaya, which I didn't have any spray paint of, so I just used the hand paint. Got a load of paint on my fingers as well, and one bit under my nail, which I can't get rid of because it's strong acrylic. I then used the black Tamaya paint and washed it down with a bit of water to get it into the gaps here, so it brings out the details and gives it a weathered effect. You can kind of see there's a bit of a colour difference just here. I tried to use that same paint from the silver on the gold, and for some reason it tore the gold away and made it more of a silver, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I can't fix that, so I've just gone and added the weathering around it. So this is Citadel black paint, run down with water and then mixed in and then rubbed off with a rag, which you've seen me use before. Tiny bit of super glue on there, but not too big of a deal. Now this here, to give the weird red colour change down into gold, is Citadel paint as well, red Citadel paint. You put a lot on the edge, and then using that same rag that I did for the weathering, only I used a clean area rather than the black, because the black would just ruin this. You rub it down until it fades, which, oops, you can see there. And I've done that on the other side as well, and just to be clear, it's on the inside. Okay, so this here is the other side. It looks a bit pink on camera. I'm going to assume it's not pink for you guys. Still got all the details in there. Yeah, that's basically it from the top. the front. There's not really much to it on the top. Same details on each side. The bottom's more interesting. But now we've got to 3D design and print the latch piece for up here. Okay, this is my 3D design software, Latch, Tinkercad. Very useful software, free. All the shapes, you can literally see it's made out of mostly blocks, and then it's got holes cut into it using those blocks. My slicing software is Box. Slice. That's it there. No, I'm joking. Yeah. That's about as easy as it gets. From here, I would turn it upside down so that it prints better, just using this little mirror tool here and mirroring it on the Z axis. And yeah. This is the piece. Made out of durable resin. And painting that is going to be a bit of a hassle because I've got to do a few layers of gunmetal just to match the rest. There. I honestly can't be bothered to do much more of this video. This is the final piece. I'm just going to super glue it on. This was actually a redo because this bit was too small. And there we go. Job done. Now I'd probably best get back to filming the beginning of this video. That's that glued on. Not a problem. I might repaint this top bit just so it's a little smoother. But there, finished. Right, so thank you guys so much for watching till here. I hope you like the photos you've just seen. Or even if you just skipped to here, I don't really mind, as long as you've enjoyed it. I've tried to edit as much out as I can, however I'm limited with just using my phone. This has been one of the best props I think I've ever made. You can see a few of the others above me. I think the best thing, aside from this in terms of detail and accuracy, is the team group, which is up there. You can't see it very well, but it is there. But no, this is definitely my proudest prop that I've done. A lot of other YouTubers have made them, but I think I'm probably the only one that's done the runes on it, or at least all of the runes. Odin makes it an amazing one that looks like a genuine shotgun, but he left the runes out because he was going to laser engrave them at a later date if he could. I personally wouldn't laser engrave them because they're raised areas, they're not indents. So yeah, super happy that I managed to get all the detail in. Although if you don't want to check out a professional, amazing looking job, go and take a look at Odin Makes, because it's superior. And he beat me to uploading a video on it, which kind of bothers me because I saw that he hadn't made one. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll make one from scratch. But he made it as I finished this one. Gutted. But yeah, just a few of the details. The bottom is probably one of my favourite bits because of the actual disc piece, and then probably the wood effect because I'm really happy with how the wood grain kind of looks. But yeah, just all the weathering and detail kind of brings it all together, and I think the little details like the gold in that gap. But thank you, and here's the bloopers that I was talking about earlier. Now you're probably gonna... Oh, fucking hell. Shit.